Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel, Las Vegas Travel and More. My name is Mark Fisher, and I'm here with my friend. Hold on, turn this down. Alex Barnes Ross. How you doing, Alex?
Hey, good thanks. I like that intro. That was really funky.
Yeah, I put that in. I put that together yesterday. I found these little clips on Canva, and put them on there, and it worked good. And I found the little track on YouTube Creators Music, so you can monetize on it if you want to, and all that. But I thought it would be
Nice.
kind of fun because this is just sort of a fun, video and all that. Anyway, well, I want to welcome everybody here to our video here, and I want to welcome Alex. This my channel is called Las Vegas Travel and More, and we're streaming on Alex's channel, Apostate Alex, as well as on my channel, Las Vegas Travel and More. And if you would subscribe to my channel, I'd really appreciate it. It's brand new. I've have like just over 500 subscribers, and I've got about 580 hours of watch time. So that's what these are intended for, is to help boost that up and also give you guys some fun and information. And I'll just show you just real briefly. I cover stories about Las Vegas, okay? And a lot of people like to come here and travel, and I've lived here for 33 years. So I give lots of different tips and places to go and things like that. We just had the Formula One race here about 2 weeks ago for the first time. And so I did a couple of videos on that, and they were very popular. And, it was quite an event that we had here in Las Vegas. We've got the Super Bowl coming up for American football and all that. So anyway, and then I cover the 5 best tacos in Las Vegas, and the best place to eat, ask a local. I do things like that, and I do live videos, as well as some of them are recorded. And then I also cover like Hawaii. I've been to Hawaii, and I do videos on that, and other places like London, which we're going to do right now in southern England. And then of course I interviewed Janice, my partner on my other channel, when she came back from her cruise to Spain and Morocco. And so it's just kind of a fun channel that covers lots of travel and fun, that doesn't cover the other subject that Alex and I are involved in. And it just gives you guys a little break. So I appreciate it if you'd like to subscribe to it. All you have to do is go to @mfisherlv. That's @mfisherlv, and it's called Las Vegas Travel and More. And you can watch there. It's streaming there right now, and that would help you get some hours. Or you can also subscribe. Anyway.
I think also I just want to jump in as well and say that just to really clarify for everyone, you're not stopping the other channel with Janice.
No,
right?
no,
This
no.
is an additional one. This is a new channel where you're providing and giving extra content that
Right.
lets us see a little bit more about you as a person, not just you as an interviewer talking about Scientology stuff. So if you guys are watching this on my channel, I put excuse me, I put a link in the comments just now. Go and give Mark a subscribe, and give this a watch on his channel so that he gets the watch hours that he needs, and go show him some love.
Absolutely. And I could see Clearwater Chad's in the house. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Clearwater
And
Chad.
Danielle
Good
as
to
well.
see you.
Danielle Chamberlain.
I saw it. Yeah, there's Danielle. Hi, Danielle.
We
Yeah,
love
you guys should enjoy this. I've got lots of photographs and I want and Southern England and stuff. So hopefully you all will enjoy this. If you have any questions, just please write the word question in the comments. We'll star them and we'll get to those questions as well. And anything else you'd like to mention right now? How you doing, Alex?
Good. I do have a bit of a cough. I'm sorry. So I keep I keep coughing. So sorry. But otherwise, I'm great. Thank you. I've got this new light behind me, which someone got for me. So thank you very much to the viewer who donated for that on my channel. But I'll move this. You can see I've got like a light inside the my bookshade. Oh my god, it's doing the thing. It's never done that before on
what was that? I missed it when you did the thumbs up. Did it do something?
It's not going to do it again now, is it? Oh, maybe it's a one-hit one. It's never done that before on my channel. I've never seen that before. No. Otherwise, all good. Thank you, Mark. I'm just kind of keeping my head to the ground and focusing on what's important, and talking to new people every day, and trying to help people get their channels off the ground. And
you've been very busy. I mean, rightfully so. I mean, between the protest stuff and now going after the, the connection of Scientology to the mayor of East Grinstead and all that, it's keeping you busy, I'm sure.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think I'm really focused on like action, not just, talking about it. And so I'm trying to really make sure I follow up with like things that I'm actually doing that help in the mission. And obviously we're not here to talk about Scientology, so we won't harp on about it for too much. But essentially, yeah, I'm just spending my time that I'm not on live streams, talking to the mayor's office and submitting Freedom of Information Act requests and replying to emails. And, it's definitely become a full-time job. So, just focusing on that, really. Natalie Grant, Mark, what was that? Mark, welcome to London. Nice. Hit the like button.
Hit the like
as well. Guys, engagement is really key for our channels on YouTube. And I know it sounds really boring, and we probably say this a lot, but if you press the like button and leave a comment after the video finishes, if you're watching on the replay or whatever, leave a comment underneath as well. Because that tells the YouTube algorithm that this video is providing interesting content that you like. And even if you don't like it, if you could just comment and like, even if it's just a small short word or something, that just helps this video get pushed out to more people. And that helps our channels grow, which means we can help more people. So
that's what's important. It literally pushes it out to people who are not familiar with the subject that we're in. Exactly. And that's really the reason for subscribing and liking. I mean, obviously, the more we get subscribers and likes and all that, it helps us as channel creators, but really helps to get the message out. That's the bigger thing. And I agree with you, Alex, on that.
Yeah. Jeff's got a great question. PTS for life. That's so funny.
Jeff's in there. Evening, lovely people.
Yeah. Hi, Mrs. K. How you doing?
Hi, Alex. Hi, Mark. I'm working, but I'm listening. Thank you, Kwaz. We just want to welcome anybody. Norway here, it says here. Who's that? Norway here, North Part, Lucy, Victoria Lavelle. Thank you very much. And then we've got Paige Lindsay. Hi, Mark and Alex. We definitely appreciate you all being here. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started then, Alex, and hopefully we're going to have some fun, all right? So just so you know, I had never been, I'm going to tell a little backstory real quick. I had never been to England. I went on my trip. It was February of 2005, so it's a while ago, right? But I had a lot of fun. The reason I did it was I live in Las Vegas in Nevada, right? And I at the time I was making a lot of money, and I like to travel, so I decided, I'd like to go to London. And my experience with travel, when I go to a place like England or Italy or whatever, I like to go by myself, because then I don't have to herd cattle. Do you know what I mean? In other words, like, I can go do what I want to do. And mainly while I'm there, from the moment I get up in the morning till the moment I go to bed at night, I'm going to see everything I can, because I have a limited amount of time in a place, right? So in England. Yeah. So I decided to go in February, which was the coldest time of the year, my understanding.
I was gonna say there, right? If I was to advise anybody on a good month to come and visit London, I would never say February. It's probably one of the worst, if not the worst, months to be in London, because it's cold, it's wet, it's miserable. It's just generally, a bit sad, right? But I can imagine actually living in Las Vegas, that was probably quite a welcome change for you, because you're probably really used to it being warm and living in the desert and really hot and sunny all the time. So I imagine it's probably quite nice to kind of come somewhere that's not hot all the time, right?
Well, it is. And the thing is that I really wanted to go to England, right? But the reason I went in February is because Virgin Atlantic Airlines and British Airways too, they have a nonstop daily, or at least they did then. I think they still do now. Yeah. Nonstop daily from England to Las Vegas. And it comes in here about, 2 or 3 in the afternoon here. And then it flies out of here about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening, all the way back to London. And it just goes back and forth every day. And it was the 747 when I flew. I flew on Virgin Atlantic Airlines. So it was $400 round trip in February, because nobody wants to go. It's cold. I went, oh, okay, yeah, I'd like to do that, right? Yeah. So that's why I ended up going in February. And I'll never forget the first time I took a taxi, right? A taxi. And the cab driver asked me, "Oh, where are you from?" I said, "Las Vegas." And he said to me, "Oh, that's where we go to double our money." And I said, "Double your money? You mean win a jackpot?" He goes, "No, no, no, no. The pound is worth $2. So as soon as we get
Yeah.
to Las Vegas, everything's half price."
It's not like that now,
True.
though, is it, Mark?
No, I don't know. I don't know what the pound is to the dollar right now,
Oh,
or the
so
euro. Do you guys euro, or are you pounds?
we're pounds. We're still pounds. But I
Yeah.
I was in America the September last year, while this whole financial thing happened that suddenly made the the exchange rate really bad. So I was
Mhm.
in Atlanta, and America's always a bit cheaper than the UK anyway because of the exchange rate. There was a time when it was double, which was fantastic, but I think at the time it was like what £1 was probably $1.70 or 60 or something at the beginning of my trip. And then by the halfway through the trip, it was suddenly almost equal. £1 is $1. So everything suddenly got like half as expensive again. And it suddenly went from being a very cheap holiday to suddenly being a very expensive holiday. And there's nothing I can do about it. But no, there was a time when it was yeah, £1 was $2. And yeah, I know a bunch of people that went to the States during that time and try to take advantage of it. And with all these new cheap flights and everything, it's so easy to get around. For
Yeah.
if you book in advance, you can get a New York to London flight for like $300 return, I think now. If you book like
Yeah.
6 months or a year ahead of time, it's insane.
Well, I literally, that's why I went, and I'll never forget. I went to buy something, or like, I'm not sure if it was a restaurant or I wanted to buy something. It said it was 20 pounds, right? I'm thinking, oh, that's $20. Okay, I'll buy it, And then I realized afterwards that I just paid $40 for something that I thought was $20.
But the beauty of it though is all we have, like, how in America, I don't know what it's like specifically in Las Vegas, but I know that every state has a different sales tax, right? So the price you see on the shelf is not necessarily the actual price that you'll pay, because you have to add sales tax on top of it, and then
Right.
you have to tip your waiter or waitress. Whereas in the UK, the price you see on the shelf includes all of the tax, so that's the amount you're going to pay total. And we have slightly different labor laws here, so tipping is not as a bigger part of the culture, because they're waiters, waitresses, service people get paid a little bit more as standard as they do in the States, and quite often service is included in the price anyway. So it's just a different type of culture. Because that always shocks me whenever I'm in the States, is like, oh, this thing's $10, how cheap. And then you get to the checkout and he's like, no, actually it's going to cost me 15 or 18,
Like 13. Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's one difference, I suppose.
Well, when I got there, I took I flew into Gatwick, and then I had to take I forget, a shuttle or something. And I stayed at a really inexpensive hotel, but it still was, it was like 200 a night or whatever. It was near Kensington Palace, and there's that Hyde Park area over by Harrods. Is that the area? Yeah.
Yes,
so that's where and it was basically a basic room with a shower and all that. And I just remember how cold it felt, because the British winter to me is very damp. So like, you could bundle up, but you still feel cold because the air is cold. Do you know what I mean?
And especially worse for you because you literally live in a desert. So it's probably even worse.
I'll show you photos. This became my best friend, and this was the first time I ever did this. Okay. I got on one of these double-decker sightseeing buses right outside of Kensington, right? It's a hop on, hop off bus. And basically it takes you around on a loop all around the city. And I've done this now in cities all over the world, but this first time I ever did it was here in London. And this is me up on the top of the bus all by myself because it's so friggin' cold, right? And I rode up there uncovered because I wanted to see the city. And the great thing about these buses is that they take you around, and they're a great way to get oriented as to where everything is. Okay. So for instance, you have no idea where you are in the city as big as London. So taking the loop, just driving around the entire loop, to me showed me exactly where I was and where I wanted to go. And it's also, you can hop on and hop off. So you buy a 2-day pass. And then let's say you get to, whatever, the Tower of London or whatever. You can hop off there, and then when you're done there, just hop on the next one, because they come like every 15 minutes. So that's one of my big travel tips. And I've done this not just in London, but I've done it in Italy, I've done it in Copenhagen, I've done it in Tokyo. And I just recommend people, if you're traveling and you've never been before to a city, it's a great first thing to do.
Can I give a little travel tip as well? I mean, this is specifically to London, because, you know, I obviously know London very, very well. But I always, whenever I go somewhere, I always look at like the local transport as well, because in the UK particularly, like public transport is so well positioned. You know, there's the tube, there's the buses. Like, I know a lot of cities don't have that infrastructure, so it's not the same. But in London, it's like, it's so easy to get around, and the system is so kind of well thought out and well placed. I always look at what the infrastructure is already there, because, for example, with that city sightseeing tour, there is actually a bus, just a normal public bus, one of the red double deckers, that goes pretty much the exact same route as the big main route that those ones go on. And it's the same thing, you just hop on, hop off. The only thing is you don't have a tour guide and you don't have someone pointing things out. But it's like £1.50 or something for you know, a ride, so it's a lot cheaper. So once you're kind of used to, you know, you got your way around the city and you've done the sightseeing thing, I always like go and look at the public transport, because quite often you can save a bunch of money and still get around just as easy. And you get to experience a bit of what the place has actually got to offer. Like, I love when I go on holiday, like experiencing the culture of the place that I'm going to, right? Obviously, I want to go and do the touristy stuff as well, but I always like finding a local at a bar or a pub or something and being like, where's the best place to eat? Like, where's somewhere that's not touristy that you go for dinner, like if you want to go for a nice meal? And I love experiencing that. And I think part of it is the culture of the public transport and all that as well. You know, if you don't like it, if you don't feel safe or whatever, cool, go and do another one. But little tip is always check the public transport, because quite often it's cheaper and just as good.
Absolutely. And the thing is that what I like about it, I kind of equate it to something we did in our former life, right? Which was doing a locational and getting oriented in where you're at, like find out where you are.
Yes, exactly.
So here's the other reason I like it, because when you're up on the top of the bus, you have almost unobstructed views of everything. So you can take great photographs. You can take really good photographs. This is, again, when I first got on the bus, this is looking forward. On the right, I think, is Kensington Palace or Hyde Park or whatever. I'm not sure. I know Kensington Palace is in Hyde Park, right? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, it looks like.
Yeah, so my hotel was literally 2 blocks forward on the left, and this is where it caught the thing, right? So anyway, so we went driving down, and this is driving down through Kensington, and here's Harrods, which is the famous shopping department store, and I did go there, and that was an experience. My brother told me what a wonderful place it was, and it was really cool. And then we're just driving again straight down there towards, we go past Buckingham Palace. I think this is near Buckingham Palace, if I recall
nearby,
correctly. Yeah, nearby. All right. And then we went, of course, by Westminster Abbey, you know, and that's famous, you know, and I did go in there later, but on my first trip, I just drove around to see everything. And of course, this is where they had, you know, a lot of the royal family, coronation of Queen Elizabeth was there. And I think, was her funeral there too? I think so. But, you know, it's yeah, it's very famous. And that's the other thing too. Became a royal family fan from after this trip, because you're going to see a lot of the places I went to. And so I've been following like the royal family and English history ever since. And that's one great thing about when you go visiting some of these places, you know? So anyway, and again, it was a dreary, cloudy, cold day. And this is going
that
across
just
the
like
River
perfectly
Thames.
sums up London, that picture. Like, you know, if you were to imagine what London looks like on a typical day, this is it.
It's
like,
a dreary, there's the River Thames, and
like beautiful architecture and lovely history, and you know, it's all great to see. And like, you know, there's so much history behind this picture, but also it's just grey and dull.
Yeah, exactly.
Which London is. But you know what I love about London? from a tourism perspective, is there is so much to do here, and there is so much of it is free. Just going to see the House of Parliament. If you want to go in and do a tour of all of these things, you can do, and quite often there's a cost attached to that, obviously. But
Right.
just to see the House of Parliament, just to see the London Eye or Westminster Abbey, like, you could just walk up to it and walk around and like see it, and like there's so much that you can learn and experience in the
Well,
architecture alone, right?
particularly for an American, because I was
Yeah,
always into, British history and World War II and all that stuff. I was a history buff when I was a teenager. It was my favorite subject. So just seeing these places just on the bus was amazing to me. And I don't remember what that is, but that's some old, I don't know what it is. I forget.
that
It's near the
looks
Tower of
like
London. It's
it
near the
looks
Tower of
like
London.
Lambeth Palace, which is where the Archbishop of Canterbury lives, but I'm not 100% certain, but it does
Yeah.
look a bit like that.
Well, and then of course you drive by Parliament. That's Winston Churchill
Parliament
statue right
Square.
outside there. And then I went back there on another day, and it was sunny. I had a really sunny day, and that's
Quick, take all the
there's a
pictures
statue of
while it
Winston
looks
Churchill.
nice.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to be surprised when you see some of the other photographs about the weather, because I experienced something that most people in England say doesn't happen very often. So anyway, so then we went by and go by the Ritz Hotel. Yeah, you know, at the Ritz, the what's the song and stuff like that, putting on the Ritz and the Ritz Hotel. So I saw, oh, that's the Ritz Hotel. That was kind of cool. It's near the West End, I think, right where the theater district is.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. Yeah.
Okay. And then here's the original Hard Rock Cafe in London. It was the very first one. And I was like amazed by that. And a couple of days later, I did the rock and roll tour of London. And it was a van tour, guided tour. And it started here at the Hard Rock in London, and I'm going to show you photographs from that too. So it's quite a bit here that is pretty amazing. Of course, here's the Tower Bridge, and this is that same day. It was very dreary, and I got off at the Tower of London, and this is looking from across where the Tower of London is, and this is the Tower of London, which I was surprised because it's just like a castle. It's not really a tower. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the Tower of London refers to the whole building, but really that's it. And the whole complex.
It's a whole
is huge,
complex.
but
Yeah, I mean that's where the crown jewels are kept there. And I
Yeah.
went in and saw the crown jewels. I mean, this is all part of the Tower of London here, and it's old. I mean, it's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years,
Yeah.
But it was really cool. I didn't put any photographs in, but they had like ravens that they keep there as pets because there's some historical thing about ravens, and they were on the ground. They're as big as cats and dogs. They were so big.
Yeah, and the beef eaters as well. Did you get some pictures?
Well, I
of
have
the
that. Yeah, here we
Oh,
go.
there you go. Nice.
There's two of London's finest on the left, a beefeater on the right, one of the Royal Guards, I guess, right? This is outside the Crown Jewels.
Yeah.
Area.
At the time, it would have been the Queen's Guard. Now it's the King's Guard. Their job is solely to protect the king, the monarch, even if he or she is not there. They're there to protect the building and to protect the crown jewels because they're, representative of the sovereign. So there's plenty of videos online of tourists getting in the way, and these guys don't mess around. Don't get in the way of one of these guys because they will just keep walking, and if that requires you to be physically moved out of the way, they will physically move you out of the way because they have they have the authority of the king, or at the time you were here, the queen. So they will march and they will just keep going because what they're doing is important for national security. That's how it's considered anyway. I mean, in reality, they're just standing there all day. But, it's the sentiment, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and then this was a sunny day. This was a different day. But then, of course, there's Big Ben. And I took this picture here. And then here's me in front of
There
Big
you
Ben.
are.
There I am. I'm wearing a jacket and a sweatshirt underneath and jeans, right? And I was freezing cold. Okay. And one of the things I realized after doing this in London is one of my favorite uniform items that I had in our prior life, right, was because I was an officer, I had what was called a bridge coat, and it was a heavy navy blue woolen coat, but it went all the way down below your knees. You know what I mean? And so it was really warm. It kept your legs warm and all that. So I decided after this trip, I went to a tailor in Asia and I had them make me a bridge coat, and I have it to this day. And
Oh wow.
it's very warm, like on a trip like this. But anyway, this was a nice day. You know, partly cloudy in London, and there's Big Ben, and there's another close up of Big Ben there. And this is the other bus, the public transportation you're talking about, right?
Yes. Yeah.
The double decker bus, right? And then there's the London Eye. Now we have the Link here in Las Vegas, and we have a similar thing now. The London Eye was before ours, but it's a big Ferris wheel that you can see Las Vegas, and of course you can see London. I didn't go on it, but I took photographs there. Anyway, and of course here's the famous English phone booth, and of course we know whose ancestor designed those, right? Don't we, Alex?
No, whose?
Robin Scott.
No
Did
way.
you remember? Yes. If you watch his video,
I have seen it. That's ringing bells now.
One of his ancestors or great grandfathers or whatever was designed, claiming, according to Robin, that he designed the phone booth.
He's related to everyone. That's insane.
I know. It's that's what makes it fascinating. And British history like that, family histories go back hundreds and hundreds of years, and I find it really fascinating myself.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, it is quite fun doing family history and finding your part. My nan is a historian, and she's done our family history and linked it back to the 1600s or so, and it's really interesting because you get to the point, this is a real tangent, you get to the point in family history where the records are no longer kept by the government and they're actually kept by churches, because back in the 1500s, the record keeping was kept by christenings and by funerals, and that was all records kept by the local parish church in the village. So it really becomes investigative work of like trying to figure out which village, and there's thousands of villages that your descendants might live in, and then going to that church and trying to find their old records and literally looking through them. It's an experience for sure. But
I'm reading a biography right now of Bernie Taupin, the famous lyricist who wrote all the lyrics for Elton John, and he grew up in Lincolnshire, and he said one of the only requirement you needed to have a village or township was a church and a public house. If you had those two things, then you could be a village in England, according to him.
Sounds about right. Two most important things.
Okay, now this is going down into Churchill's bunker for World War II, underneath wherever his residence was, and that was fascinating. I'm a World War II history buff, and that's the line to get in there. And I went in there and did the tour, and it's still the real bunker where he basically ran World War II, from at night and everything. He slept down there because of the Battle of Britain, the bombing. And it was the same area. I was featured in that movie, The Darkest Hour, with Gary Oldman playing Winston Churchill. But that was fascinating. And that's right near Parliament.
Yeah.
And walked down just near number 10 Downing Street too. I went and saw that too. It was pretty cool. And then again, Westminster Abbey on that partly cloudy day. And then a British pub. I saw the Westminster Arms, and I had to go in there. And this was it. Is this what a normal pub looks like?
Yeah, that's pretty much perfect. It's a great example of a pub. Did you try some of the beers while you're there, Mark? That was the question.
I did. Yeah, I just tasted it and all that, and I liked it. It's a little heavy for me. I'm not really a beer drinker. Like in the US, if I have a beer, I usually drink it over ice, which is sacrilegious to some people, but that's how I do it. But no, I enjoyed it. And we'll get to British food because I tried that too. And the fish and chips I enjoyed very much. But it's funny how, in America, on every table, you'll have a bottle of ketchup and salt and pepper. But when I was in England, on every table I went to at the restaurant, you had a bottle of brown sauce, and I was like, "What's brown sauce?"
Did you try it?
Heinz. We have Heinz ketchup. You had Heinz brown sauce.
Yeah. What did you think? Did you try some while you were here? What did
No,
you
I thought
think?
it was going to be pretty bland. Is it spicy or what's it like?
It's nothing special. It's just like a different flavored ketchup. I'm not a big fan of brown sauce, but it's just like
Yeah.
imagine ketchup, but imagine what you think it probably tastes like if it was brown. That's kind of what it. That's how I would
Yeah.
describe it.
Anyway, then I took a tour. I took a bus tour to Windsor and Windsor Castle, right? And this is outside Windsor Castle. I think that's a statue of Queen Victoria, if I recall. I'm not
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
sure. And that's the town of Windsor heading into the castle. And this was fascinating to me too later, because this is where Queen Elizabeth, she liked to spend a lot of time, but a lot of ceremonies were there, weddings, that we got to see, over the years, the funerals for the Queen and for Prince Philip and on all that. And, I was fascinated because I went to all these places, you know what I mean? And this is Windsor Castle. And these are all walking into Windsor Castle.
You
Beautiful
know what I think is
grounds.
great as well, that I think is really cool when you realize these big palaces and castles and stuff. Yes, they're tourist destinations. You can go and take pictures and go on tours and so on, but they still very much are working royal residences, right?
Oh, they
There are
live there.
parts
Yeah.
of this building that you're not allowed to go to because they're private apartments. And if the royal standard is flying, that means the monarch is home. They're
Right.
in the building. And so this is one thing people don't realize is, yeah, there's all this history, but they're still currently in use.
Well, yeah,
And
exactly.
people
And
live.
and this is the pathway and the way the carriages went in and out for the funerals. Because when you go through that gate there, you go into the areas where the Queen's apartment was at the time, and
Yeah.
now King Charles, right? And this is it. There's like a big grassy green area, and if you pull into that archway there, if you go in, which they took us in, that's the part of the castle that had been burned down when they had the fire in the 1990s,
Yeah.
and they refurbished the whole thing. And that's where they have like the big state dinners at Windsor Castle and all that. But then across that lawn over on this side was where apparently the Queen's apartment was. They call them apartment, but basically it's all of her suites where she was living at the time. And it's fascinating. Like I've seen it so many times since, for when like the U.S. presidents go to visit the monarch, they would come here, and it was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. And then of course I'm walking down towards St. James, is it St. George
St. George,
Chapel?
St. George's.
St.
Yeah.
George Chapel. This is still inside the castle area, and here come
The Queen's
the
Guard.
guards. Yeah, and they're marching right by me, right
Mhm.
here. And this is the same pathway that you'd see William and Harry and everybody, walking down to go to the funerals and stuff and the weddings. And there I am, and they had like a band out there that was playing. They were marching and stuff, and that was
I
me in
just see.
2005.
Sorry, someone's upset with me in the chat. Hannah Reynolds, Alex, wash your mouth out. How dare you? HP is nothing like ketchup. Look, I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of HP brown sauce, right? For me, it's like ketchup but brown, and I don't like it. I apologize, Hannah, and that's it. But
Well, this is Edicon, the latest SPTV scandal: HP sauce versus ketchup.
I like barbecue sauce. I
I
do
like
like
barbecue
barbecue
sauce
sauce,
too. Yeah,
and
yeah, that's more sweet
occasionally.
and spicy. Yeah,
If you order like a bacon roll or something and you ask for ketchup and they accidentally give you brown sauce instead, right? I'm not
right.
going to go and take it back. I'm not going to be offended. Like, I will eat it. It's okay. It's just not my condiment of choice.
Well, and then when you have fish and chips, I love fish and chips, right? As a
Mayonnaise,
matter of fact,
mayonnaise or
well, I
tartare
was going to say
sauce.
fish and chips. Actually, we had it a few times when we were in our previous life in the galley, and that's where I learned what malt vinegar was. And I love malt vinegar on fish and chips. It's really delicious. But you have mayonnaise. Tartar sauce is how we have it.
Yes.
Mayonnaise with pickle relish. But I love it with malt vinegar. And the only difference over here in America, when you get fish and chips, you don't get peas, right? Usually when in England,
Mushy peas.
ordered it a
Yeah.
couple times at a restaurant, you get peas, you get chips, and you get fish. And anyway, but we don't do that. We don't serve that way over here.
And they're proper chips as well. You know, they're like chunky.
Yeah.
What you guys call steak fries, right? Or steak chips, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
the only thing
they're
is that
massive.
I prefer them crispy. I don't like
Right.
them so mushy, you know.
Mm.
But anyway, so this is me. This is outside the St. George's Chapel
Yep.
area, and then of course here's the band playing, and this is the same area here, and they were doing a changing of the guard or something. And then this is the town of Windsor. Coming out of the castle, we walk down through the town of Windsor, and it's beautiful. And that is the public. It's like the public judge's magistrate's office, and it turns out that that's where King Charles married Camilla, was in there, because they couldn't get married in the church at the time. And after I think they got married before I was there, and that's why I took this photograph.
2005, I think they got married.
Yeah, and that's why I was here in February
Yeah.
2005. But or maybe I heard it was going to be there. No, I think it happened after I was there. But anyway, that was that's where he and Camilla got married. Was in that such
Interesting fact for you. I'm full of all of this useless information. Interesting fact for you. When Camilla and Charles got married, they issued a statement because the British people loved Princess Diana so much. There was generally a real concern, and they
it's
didn't.
The Guildhall, somebody said. Sorry.
The Guildhall.
Right. I missed it. Right. Yeah.
They. I'm sorry, Mrs. Amber Shine. But yeah, so lots of people didn't like the idea of Camilla becoming queen, right? And that's why she didn't inherit the title Princess of Wales. She became the Duchess of Cornwall, and that's why they issued a statement when they first got married, saying, "No, she's not going to be queen when he becomes king. She'll, we'll figure it out later. But she's Duchess of Cornwall, not Princess of Wales." She did officially have the title Princess of Wales. She just never used it because people associated that with Princess Diana. And so there was uproar at the time, and that's how they settled and calmed everyone's nerves of like, okay, cool, Camilla's not going to be the queen, it's all right. And now over time people have warmed to the idea, and now we have a Queen Camilla, and no one seems to have an issue with it. But
no, they don't. Now this is an interesting fact. To the left is the Rickety House. This is from Mrs. J. Is that green and white building?
I have no idea. I should know that. But
yeah, I don't know what that is, but thank you for pointing that out, Mrs. J. Anyway, all right. So we went from Windsor. I was on the same. It was an all-day bus tour. So from Windsor, we went to Stonehenge. Okay, and we were looking for space aliens in Stonehenge. I know you're having a coughing fit.
Sorry. I'm getting a bit of a cold, so I'm coughing and sneezing and everything. But I'm here. Stonehenge. So did you see any space aliens while you were there?
Well, I will see. I mean, this is it. It was overcast and cloudy. I have to say, I'm going to say this, okay? People, it's a mystery as to what it is. It has a presence about it. Do you know what I mean? Like a spiritual presence of some sort. Like the clouds. Weird. When I was there, the clouds were like almost swirling a little bit around there. It's got something, and I don't know what it is, but I was fascinated by it, and of course I'm walking around it here, and there I am there. I'm actually still probably, I don't know, 40 or 50 feet away from the stones, but that's me back then.
You used to be able to walk right up to them and touch them, and because
I don't think you can now, or at least you couldn't when I was there. But it was really fascinating.
They do open it up every now and then for a couple of days a year, and you can go up and touch the stones and so on. But I find it's such a British thing to stop people going up to this national monument and damaging it or graffiti. The only thing between you and this national monument is literally a piece of rope. On a little stick, just a little sign.
Everybody was polite when I was there. It was windy, as you can tell, and it was very. I loved it, and of course I've seen it, and it's a fascinating story because where did the rock come from? Where did the stone? How did they get it there, and all that? I've watched documentaries on it and stuff, But
and they recently discovered. I saw in the news that the stones, they thought they came from Wales or something, and they recently discovered that I think at least a couple of them are not actually from the area they thought they were from, and so it's just been blown out of wide open again. Of like, we really don't know much about this whole thing.
It's the same thing about the pyramids in Egypt or
Yeah.
Easter Island, where all of those stone, things were carved and then moved. I mean, it's again another great mystery of life and space aliens. Who knows?
I like to think that it was just a couple of guys who were a bit drunk and thought they'd play a joke on their ancestors, their descendants, and thought, how funny would it be to just like put these stones here and make it look like it's significant? And it
Or,
actually
or,
means
or a
nothing.
bunch of giants were playing dominoes, and they set
Yeah,
them up with stones.
exactly.
Anyway, then we went on to Salisbury, and we went to
Nice.
the Salisbury Cathedral,
Yeah,
right? And that's another town. And what's famous about this cathedral is that's where they have a copy of the Magna Carta. I'm
yeah.
not sure if it's the original or if it's just a copy, right? But I got to see that, and the Magna Carta, of course, is a very famous document in history, along with the U.S. Constitution and other things like that. But anyway, so I did Salisbury, and then I did take the tube. Okay, I went to Wimbledon. Okay, now if you're
Nice.
an American, as a kid, I got into tennis watching Wimbledon in the 70s, and they had what they called breakfast at Wimbledon on television because of the time difference. And you would get up in the morning and you'd watch Bjorn Borg or John McEnroe or Jimmy Connors or Chris Evert play tennis on that weekend. And so I was fascinated, and I played tennis when I was a teenager. I really loved it. So I wanted to see center court. So I took the tube from Kensington down to Wimbledon, and that was great. The tube was great. The subway was great, right? And went to the center court. And of course, this is 2005, so this is center court. Now they've rebuilt and put a roof over it that's retractable. I watch it and stuff, right? But it was fascinating to see center court and how it was so cool, the grass and everything. This is February, right? But just how quaint it was. You know what I mean? I mean, you expect it to be much, much bigger, but it was really cool. And so I went through, the Wimbledon grounds, and then they have a museum there, and you get to see all the different plaques where they put up the winners' names and stuff like that. So that was my little foray down to Wimbledon.
Nice.
Okay.
I've never been to Wimbledon. It's on my list of things that I want to go and do sometime. It's really hard to get tickets to go to
Yeah.
Wimbledon, when there's a big game on or whatever, because like you say, it's so small that, sports
But
arenas in America.
February was not a problem.
Yeah, of course. No, but I mean, if you want to go and see the tennis, right, the
Right.
open. But what was I say? In America, it's not uncommon for you guys to have like a football stadium that seats 100,000 people, right? Like that's
Yeah.
just not a thing that is here in the UK, because there's just not that. There's more Americans than there are British people, so there's not as much need, but there's also just not enough space. So all
Yeah.
of these big national monuments and venues and music halls and stuff that you hear of and you see pictures, I can imagine you think that they're huge, and then when you get here you're like, oh, it's so tiny, because it's steeped in history.
There you go. EduCon. Do the queue. Turn up at 6 a.m. Costs a tenner.
Yes, that's the way with Wimbledon is, get there. This is what I hear. If you want to go, you just get up really early and you queue, and you get really cheap tickets. Because if you book in advance, it costs loads of money, and they're really expensive. But they do have a reserved amount just for on the day, but you have to queue up for it. And then if you don't get in, I think they have like lots of TV screens outside. You can kind of sit on the lawn outside and watch it live, and obviously have strawberries and cream and all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah. All right. So then here we'll carry on. This is Kensington Palace,
yeah.
and that was Queen Victoria apparently built Kensington Palace, and that's a statue of her as a young woman. And I got some great photographs in there. And of course, this is the gates to Kensington Palace. And of course, this is famous for when Princess Diana died, where all of the flowers, right? All of the flowers were put there outside the gates. And there was massive amount of flowers because that's where Princess Diana lived with William and Harry at the time. And I got a tour of the Kensington Palace, and I saw the apartment. They call them apartments. We call them suites, where Princess Margaret had lived in there. And apparently that section was then renovated for William and Kate when they got married, years later. But anyway.
Apartment 1A where they live or I don't know if they still do, but it sounds like it's, you know, just a little room or a couple of rooms in the corner of a big. But no, it's like its own mansion of its own,
Oh no,
like accord.
exactly. But it's like a
cool
whole
apartment block.
suite. It's like a suite. It's like not like you have a whole run of the whole castle because they have lots of different royals
Yeah.
that live there. And this is the garden. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the garden where Harry announced his engagement to Meghan. Because I
Yes.
remember they walked out into these grounds and I recognized it right away. And these were the grounds and everything like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then I told you I went back to the Hard Rock Cafe and I did the rock and roll tour of London, and it was fabulous. You know, it was like in a van with a tour guide, and we drove around London. Here I am inside the Hard Rock um, Cafe in London. It's the original one, which then became all over the world, and of course we have casinos and everything now. But anyway, so that's me there. And then, do you know where this is?
I recognize that building, but I have no idea what it is.
That's Abbey Road Studios. That's where the
Oh, that's
Beatles
why. Yes.
recorded all of their
Beatles.
famous albums, and that's up in St. John's Wood, I want to say,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
West.
And this is Abbey Road Studios, and we went up there, and I walked up to the front, and this is where they recorded like most of their albums. Is still used for many, 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 many famous recordings. And
Yeah.
Alex is coughing again. Here I am in front of
Sorry.
Abbey Road. That's okay. Here I am
It's
in front of Abbey Road. Yeah,
the zebra crossing outside as well.
I have that.
This is
You'll see it in a
this is a
second.
part of London, just so people understand. There's no offense to people that live in the area. It is a lovely area, but there's not much going on. Like the only thing to like go and see there is Abbey Road Studios. So it's full of people that, you know, are just going to take a picture and cross the road and get the Beatles picture. And it really annoys local residents. I've got a friend who used to live around there, and we were driving
Yeah, I
past
was
one.
going to say it's similar to like in America we call them suburbs. It's not like right in
Yeah,
the heart of downtown or anything like that.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, and then there's graffiti, written on here, Beatles fans and stuff writing graffiti on the walls and the gates and stuff like that. And of course, there's the famous crosswalk where they did the Abbey Road
Yep.
album cover where they walked across there. And of
And
course,
it's so funny. Go on.
well,
Sorry,
I
go on.
was going to say I was going to have somebody take a picture of me. Why? But then there's traffic driving on there. I'm like going, I don't want to be a stupid tourist and stand up there. But there
That's
were
what I was
people
gonna
that
say
do it.
about my friend that lives in the area. Like, it really annoys them because, like, this crossing is just full of people like running out and standing in the middle of the road to take a picture and then running off, and it's quite funny to watch. If you're ever in London, I advise they should definitely have a pub on that corner, because that would be hilarious. Just sit there and just watch the chaos that is
I
always
know.
happening at this crossing.
But it's famous. It's historical,
Yeah,
It is, and there's right there. So I took those pictures there, and then this is Paul McCartney's house in London at the time,
yeah,
from when he was a Beatle. It's not far from Abbey Road in St. John Wood, and it's a little house. Now he has big houses, I'm sure, all over the world, but this was his house when he was a Beatle,
I mean,
and
also
apparently he still owned it when we were there.
this is a huge house for London standards, right? Don't get me started on London
Uh-huh.
property prices, but like, it isn't. This house is like, you referred to it as small because American houses are much larger. You've got a lot more space. Like in London,
Yeah.
we're jam packed tight in these tiny little buildings that are really old, and so this is a mansion, like multi-million-pound mansion. This,
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's where Paul McCartney's house,
yeah,
and then this is on Savile Road. This is the original Apple offices, their offices, and where they built the studio. And if anybody saw the Get Back special, that Peter Jackson did it on Apple TV here, the 18 hours of when they were filming the Let It Be album. But they built a studio down in the basement, and that's where they were recording a lot, working out some of their songs. And that's the door to it. This is on Savile Row, which is where all the famous tailor shops and everything is in
yeah,
London, near St. James Palace or whatever. But so this was the Beatles not Abbey Road, their Beatles Apple Records headquarters. And of
yeah.
course, I got out and I got to take a picture in the front door. And then, of course, it's also famous in the Let It Be album, and also, sorry, the Let It Be movie, and also in the Get Back thing, up on the roof. That's when the Beatles went up on the roof and played the last time live together up there on the roof. And
Yeah.
everybody's, you know, the Bobbies and everybody are looking up going, what's going on? And they're up there recording right up there on the roof in the middle of the day. So that's the famous building there. And for a Beatles fan like me, this was amazing to see. Anyway.
I bet.
And then this is Piccadilly Circus. The reason I put this in here, I went to Piccadilly Circus a few times, and it's because I went there to buy half-price tickets to see plays in the West End, and I had no idea you could do that. And there was a Virgin record store right there in Piccadilly Circus, and there was a half-price place. And the concierge at my hotel said, "Oh, this is where you need to go." I saw 3 plays while I was in London in the West End. Almost every night I got tickets. I went and saw The Producers was a big play at the time, the Mel Brooks play, a musical. And then I saw Starlight Express, which is like a roller skating. And then I saw Saturday Night Fever, which was a play of Saturday Night Fever movie. And I got tickets, really great seats, because I was by myself. So like, you can buy a single ticket. I've learned this over the years. You can get great seats if you're going by yourself, because when they sell rows of tickets, sometimes there's an odd seat. So you can actually get a really great seat. Anyway, I loved it, and I'd never been to plays in London, and I got the full experience. It was really, really cool. Anyway,
awesome.
And then this is Trafalgar Square. Yeah, went to Trafalgar Square, and of course you've got the lions there. And I took pictures there, and it was cold that day. I remember that. And then this is St. Paul's Cathedral in downtown London.
And St. Paul's Cathedral is just around the corner from London Org.
Oh, okay.
And visit the Church of Scientology. It's just, this was my old stomping ground when I worked there. We used to go and have lunch at all the little restaurants around here. And I went there with Jeff when he was here recently. Went to a pub around the corner. It's interesting part.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The downtown part is it's kind of separate. Isn't it on the other side of the river of like Parliament and all that stuff?
Yeah, so there's like 2 different downtown parts. Like this part of London that we're looking at now, St. Paul's Cathedral, is the original, financial district of London. And it still very much is, but it's not downtown like you think of it with, skyscrapers and all that sort of stuff. But it is all financial institutions, law firms, all that sort of stuff. And then, in the 90s, they built Canary Wharf, which is now the big skyscrapers downtown area, which is a little bit further out of London.
Well, I was going to tell you, the funny thing is that they were building at the time I was there in 2005 the big gherkin, I think they call it, the building that looks like a big pickle, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. Well, they were building that at the time I was there, and then of course I've seen it in many films, James Bond films and things like that, in the skyline. The other funny thing too, the coincidence that happened when I was there in February 2005. All over the news, the Olympic Committee was coming to inspect London to get them approved for the London Games, the Olympic Games. So like they had Olympic stuff all over town, and that was going on at the time.
Talking of the Olympics, show and tell. So I was a London ambassador during the 2012 Olympics, and this was the commemorative baton that they gave to everyone who volunteered as part of the Olympics.
Oh, wow.
So this is my commemorative thing that said thank you for volunteering and working at the Olympics. So
well, it's funny, because that's 2012, right? This is 2005. So 7 years in advance, they were there to check out everything and then hold it 7 years later. And now what is it? I can't even do the math. 16 years since then,
It was 2012, so
2012, so 11 years. Yeah, time flies.
Yes.
Okay, next we've got Buckingham Palace.
Yes.
By Buckingham Palace, and that's the home of King Charles and Camilla, and that's at the time was Queen Elizabeth. There's a flag on the top. I don't know if the Queen was there. I'm not sure if that's her standard or not, but
I can't tell from the picture. But the royal standard is like yellow and red, and it's very distinguishable.
Okay, and then my last bus trip, I went down to the south part of England.
Oh, lovely!
To Leeds Castle.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it snowed while I was down there. Wow. And there was snow, and I got told, "Oh, that's very unusual that you get snow in in England,
Yeah.
because it was snowing on the drive down, and we got down to Leeds Castle, and you'd see snow all over. It was fabulous.
And what a day for it to snow as well, because Leeds Castle is beautiful anyway. But I imagine, yeah, look, covered in snow must have been stunning.
It was amazing. It was amazing. I felt really lucky to do that. And it's cold again, me with my jacket and sweatshirt, but I was going to brave it and just have a good time and go into Leeds Castle. This is I guess the lake around it or whatever. And this is the inside part, the actual castle. And you see the snow all over the ground. And that's me in the bus. I took this picture. It was before selfies. This is with an actual camera. There was no phone. All these photos that I've taken, they weren't camera phone pictures. They were with a camera. So anyway, I took a picture of myself. This is on the bus outside there. Then we went to Canterbury, and we went to, downtown Canterbury, and this is a church. It's not the cathedral. We went to the cathedral, but I put this in here because I thought, oh, this is really cool, right? And then I looked, right next door was a Starbucks.
They're
so
everywhere.
You got old and you got new, Starbucks coffee right next to it. I thought that was hilarious. So I took that picture. And then this is Canterbury Cathedral. And this is where the Archbishop of Canterbury, this is his cathedral, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And he's the head of the Church of England. Well, the king is, but I mean, he's the most senior person in that church.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Or the queen.
Yeah, and he plays a role. He's the person that crowns the king in the coronation. So it's a highly significant role for sure.
Yeah. So I got to go down and see Canterbury.
I just saw there's a great comment from Jeff there, PTS for life. The best time to visit London will be October 2024. He is not wrong, because that is when we expect the next IES event shall be. And that is when we shall be protesting again outside St. Hill. So if you want to come visit London, make it October, and let's have a big turnout for that.
You got it, Jeff and Alex. Maybe I'll plan on that and come over. I'd love to come back to England. I loved England, by the way. Absolutely adored it. London, I can see why Madonna at the time lived in London. A lot of American celebrities lived there. It's a fabulous city, but very expensive. At the time, you had to have a lot of money to live there. And I saw somebody who lived in Belgravia.
Belgravia, yeah.
That's a beautiful. I went, oh man, if I lived, I want to live in this area here, but it's like very, very wealthy.
Yeah. I think the thing that a lot of people don't understand about London is actually huge, right? Like in terms of like physical size. There's a lot of people here. It's very jam-packed because it's an old city. So the roads are very windy and there's small buildings and so on. So, if you live and work in London, it is not unusual for your commute to work to be about an hour, right? Most people will live on the outskirts of London, and there's no point in driving because the traffic's really bad and the public transport is way better. So it's actually quicker to just jump on the tube or the train. But most people simply cannot afford to live within an hour's journey on the train of central London where most people work, because it's just so expensive, and it's
like that in New York City too. Cities like New York City, same thing. To live in New York City is so expensive that people live in New Jersey and they take the subway in. No, it's the same type thing.
Whereas it's the opposite in Paris, because in Paris, everyone lives smaller. So all of the apartments everyone has are tiny and they're right in the center of town. But that's because the culture is different. You go out to eat every night to a restaurant rather than having a big family meal and cooking at home all the time. So they have,
and there's a cafe on every corner.
On every corner, yeah. So it's, the living quarters are smaller, but that's because you spend more time out. Whereas in London, we spend a lot more time in, but that means we need more space, and that means most people, live a little bit further out.
Yeah. Anyway, here's the last place. Then we continued from Canterbury down to Dover, and I got to see the English Channel and the White Cliffs of Dover, right?
Yeah. Well, they don't look very white there, but yes, that is the White Cliffs of Dover, yes.
Yeah, and it was cold. Now I got smart. I spent some of my money in England, and I bought myself a scarf.
Much
So
needed
I
for
got
sure.
to keep myself warm, you know. But
Yeah,
yeah, I guess that's the ferry, I guess, that goes across the English Channel. I'm not sure,
yeah, yeah.
but I was down in Dover, and there's a castle or something up there on the top of that up there,
Yeah, and on
and
a
it
bright
was
day, you can actually see France because it's only 30 miles between Dover and Calais. Like the closest point between the UK and continental Europe is only 30 miles. So if you're standing on the cliffs of Dover, you can usually on a bright day you can see France, which is quite cool.
yeah. So anyway, so I got to do that. Pip pip cheerio.
Excellent.
Anyway, so that's my little slide presentation of my trip to England. Did I miss anything major, or I know one thing. I didn't get to go to the British Museum. I didn't have time, but that's something to see, isn't it?
There is so much to see in London. There's that. There's also the Natural History Museum, the Science Museum. There is so much to experience. You could spend weeks and weeks here and still not see everything. I think also one thing I always advise if you come to the UK is like try and spend a couple of weeks because it's so easy to just jump on the train to go to Paris or jump on it's only a 35-minute flight to Europe, right, to Paris. It's an hour or two to most cities in Europe from London, and it's so cheap. So if you're making the trip to Europe, it kind of makes sense to stay a little bit longer and go and visit Edinburgh, go and visit Ireland, go and visit some countries in Europe because it's so easy to just go and do a day trip.
Well, that's what I
So
want to do. The next time I come to England, I actually want to go to Scotland and Ireland and all that because I didn't get a chance to do that. And like you said, they're very close.
yeah,
And then you could take, at the time, I could have taken a train, like you said, under the English Channel to Paris. But
yes,
I already had planned on going to Paris, on a later trip. The next year, I went to Paris and all that. But it's a little, I'll tell you, it's pretty. It's way cool for an American to come to Europe and to come to England. One of the reasons, aside from the history and the beauty and all that, the people and the food, is the fact that you can get around so easily and it's so small. I mean, America is so big, like you can drive all day and not get across the state of Texas. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's just like they're so big and spread out. And like for me to go from Las Vegas to Los Angeles, it's a 4.5 hour drive. You know what I mean? And that's without traffic. So, like if you drive 4.5 hours, I'm sure from London, you probably get pretty far. You may even hit some other countries. I don't even know.
it depends which direction you go. The drive to like Scotland is about 9 hours, depending on where you're going in Scotland. If
Yeah.
you're going to like Devon or Cornwall down the southwest, again, depending on where you go, that can be anywhere between 4 and 6 hours. There are long drives and long ways to go, but we are an island, so there's only so far that you can go before you hit the sea. If you jump on a plane, like I said, I used to go to Paris all the time for work, and it was 35-40 minute flight, and you're in a completely different city with a completely different language and culture. And that's what I love about Europe particularly is quite often if I wanted to go to Sweden or something tomorrow, I could probably get a return flight for £20, right? It's
Yeah.
so cheap. Like the transport system here in Europe is so good. And it's completely different to the States where the train system is nowhere near
No, it's
up to
terrible.
scratch.
And our subways are not like the tube. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been on the subways in Tokyo and Japan are amazing.
Mm.
Amazing. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's easier. The public transportation is so much better in England and Europe and all that. But no, I definitely, that's on my list. I want to come back and see you, hopefully, and go to other places. I want to go to Italy, northern
Yes.
Italy. I've been to Rome and all that, but we have some friends, that used to be in our other life, Claudio and Renata Lugli, and I'd love to go see them. They live in Brescia up north. I've never been to Venice. I've never been to Germany, so there's lots of things I'd like to see. But I just wanted to say about England, okay? I found it fascinating. I mean, you're obviously born and raised in England, right? And what part do you live? Do you live in London or outside of London?
So I'm in central London. I'm in East London at the moment.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
didn't grow up here. I
Well,
grew up in the countryside.
okay. Okay. But what I was going to say is my junior high school and high school years were in the Washington, D.C. area, right? And what was
Yeah.
great about that was that you actually were living in the area of American history.
Yeah.
Okay. The Civil War took place. We could go see battlefields 20 minutes away from where I lived. You could go see, George Washington's house. You could see Revolutionary War things, and you could go to see the Capitol and all these historical things. So it was great as a kid growing up in history. And I would bet that it's the same thing in England because you've got history all over you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you pick a random road in London to just like walk down, I can almost guarantee you there will be tons of history and several different buildings that are, a mixture of 300-400-year-old buildings to 200-year-old to, a new skyscraper or apartment building that was finished last year. There's such a mix of history and architecture and design is fascinating. It is a lovely city to be in. The best time to come visit, I always say, is springtime, because in
Yeah.
spring it's a little bit sunnier, it's a little bit warmer, and it's perfect to kind of come and experience everything London's got to offer, and then go and do some trips to Europe. So you'd be
One of the
more than
things.
welcome, Mark, whenever you next
Oh,
come along.
absolutely. Well, one of my only other requirement though, when I go, like, because you guys don't air condition things in England and Europe, so
It
if
doesn't
it's
get hot
summer and
enough. We
hot,
don't need air
I
conditioning.
hate sweating. I hate sweating. So, like, when I was I went to Italy in December. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rome, and it was cold then too. And also there's not as many tourists. So, obviously it's more beautiful in the springtime and in the summertime. And I would love that for sure. But no, temperature had something to do with it too. I didn't mind being as cold as I would have as if I was sweating everywhere in July or August. I don't even know if it gets that warm there in England, but it does in other parts of the country or in other parts of the world. Sorry.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. We're not known for our warmth and heat here, I can assure you.
No, and I'll tell you this: I did walk around. I walked around Leicester Square and all that area, and I felt safe everywhere I was. You know what I mean? I was just going to say that as far as London goes, I'd never felt like I was in a bad area or anything like that. I'm sure there is bad areas, but it was great. And the food, like I said, I had to have fish and chips, and I had it several times. I tried British breakfast. What's it called? British English breakfast. I had
Full
that.
English, yeah.
Full English breakfast, and that was okay. I was not a big fan of like what are the blood pies or whatever,
Black pudding, yeah.
and black pudding or like the meat pies, the kidneys and all that just sort of turned me off. So I was not really a fan of that. But anyway.
Yeah, I think London. Yeah, British food is very hearty. It's warm. It's kind of very beige,
like
and
comfort
brown,
food, right?
But it's filling, right? It's
it's like comfort food.
Comfort food, yeah. It's home cooked and pies and bangers and mash and all of this. It's nice comfort food for the winter, particularly.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you the other thing that I really wish they had more here in America. We have bars and stuff, but your pub life is amazing. You know what I mean? Like I said, every village, every town has a pub where you just meet up and you have a drink and see your friends and your family and the people around you and have a good time and then go home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just kind of
the pub is like a central part of community life in the UK. It's not just let's go and get drunk. It's a meeting place. It's somewhere you go and hang out and you see your friends, and you can have an alcoholic or non-alcoholic drink. But the whole point is it's social, it's community. It's such a vital part of British life, I think. And bars are different to pubs. You generally at a pub wouldn't go and sit at the bar like with stools and stuff like you guys have in the States, or like you have in a cocktail bar or something, because you go to the bar to order your drink and then you go to a table and you sit down, or sit on the sofas or whatever. And it's a real community spirit, which I like.
Fabulous. I've got a few questions here. If you've got a question, any of our viewers, put it in the chat right now and we'll start. But I'm going to go ahead and pop some of these up here that we already start. Jeff from PTS for Life, question mark, did you find London has a bit of a weird smell? Not that I recall.
We talked about this when he was here.
Unless it's like Osa smells like poo, but
I think I know what he's talking about, because London definitely just, it has a smell that you get used to when you're here, but it's very much like wet and damp and a bit fumey. You know, I remember I went on a holiday once. I was in China for a couple of weeks and I flew back, and I will never forget the doors opening to the plane as we came, you know, after we landed. And I stepped onto the jetway or whatever it's called, and I took my first breath and I was like, oh, I'm home. Like, that's the smell of my country. But the smell was like fumes and rain. It wasn't a nice smell, but it was like, that's the smell of London, I suppose.
Okay.
You know, it's
All
just a
right.
big dirty city, but it's not as bad as some other cities.
I understand. Danielle Chamberlain. Hi, Danielle. How you doing? Question to Mark. How do you pronounce Worcestershire sauce? That's how we pronounce it. Worcestershire,
Nicely
not
done.
Worcestershire. It's not Worcestershire or Worcestershire. Am I right? Is it Worcestershire?
Yes, yes, yes. Well said. I'm impressed.
Oh, good, good, good. And then here's a comment from Danielle. Comment: it's crazy how many British people haven't visited all these places. I think it's the same all over the world. I visited Bletchley Park 10 years after moving away from it. You know, that's funny. That's a great comment, Danielle. I lived in, like I said, in the Washington, D.C. area, and we would go on field trips to these different places. But I had never been to the White House. You know, you can tour the White House in Washington until after I, you know, joined our other life and then came back to visit my mother. That was the first time I'd ever done it. So it's similar. And when I lived in Hawaii as a kid, you'd think, oh man, you guys would be at the beach every day. I can recall not wanting to go to the beach because we had so many other fun things to do. You know what I mean? So it's kind of funny.
It's true. And also there's just so much to do in the UK. Like, it's, you know, it's not like especially London, it's not a small city where there's like 5 things to do that you can just get it done in a weekend and then it's done. No, there's always more to explore. You know, on every street there's history there that you can delve into if you want to, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, so that, unless you guys got any other questions, I just wanted to remind everybody, please, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel, Las Vegas Travel and More. Okay, I would really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm trying to build up my viewership, and I've only had the channel for like a month and a half, so I've got over 500 subscribers, and I just need to get it. But please, if you like this content, I'm going to be doing more of it. And like I said, it's at mfisherlv is where you can subscribe to the channel. And I think sometimes, I'm sure you'll agree, Alex, we get wrapped up in the other stuff that we do our channels on, like a lot. So it's kind of fun to step away and do something that's more fun and lighthearted and not so much so serious all the time. So that's kind of why I decided to do this channel. And I'll be doing more interviews, and I've gone to other places and I'll show us. But then, like I said, I try and give tips, travel tips about Las Vegas, and also other places I've been to. So I'd appreciate it if everybody just click on that, and also click on the like button, because it definitely helps Alex. You should do the same to his channel too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just put a link in the comments for everyone to go and give Mark some of that SPTV love. I think, exactly what you say. It's good and important to be people as well as activists, right? And I think this is great that you've got your channel where you're talking about your travel and all of that. I'm still figuring out what I want to do with my channel. Is always going to be a place where I talk about Scientology and activism work on MLMs and cults and that sort of thing. I don't think that that's the right place for me to express myself in other ways, but that's the beauty of YouTube, is that you can create a second channel if you wanted to, like
Right.
you have with your travel. And who knows, maybe I'll start another channel at some point, but for now that's the focus. And I love this because we're starting to get to see people for who they actually are, rather than just, oh yeah, Mark interviewing people with Janice and talking about the history of Scientology and people's stories. It's like, well, let's get to know Mark Fisher and like
Yeah.
who he is and what he likes to do and what he enjoys, and that's great about the travel stuff. And people,
Well, it makes it friends. We're actually planning on having a cruise. We've talked about having a cruise. Janice and I have already talked about it, probably in March of this new year, out of Los Angeles, like a 3-day cruise. And anybody who's on our channels, if they want to join us, we're going to put up the information. It's not terribly expensive. It'd be
I'll
very,
be there.
so
Send
we
me the
can be a
code.
meet and greet and have some fun. You know what I mean? So we're going to be doing that too, and we should have that worked out hopefully after the holidays, and we'll make an announcement. But yeah, it's just the thing is that we all have to remember that we're all people, you know what I mean? And we like to have fun and we like to do things, And one of the things that I decided after I left our previous life was, if it wasn't fun, I really didn't want to do it. Do you know what I mean? Because we did a lot of unfun things. And, you can't do that all the time. There's a lot of responsibilities that we all have, but I try and, try and mix it up a little bit with some fun. So anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If you have any questions, please ask in the comment section. I go through them all the time. I'm sure Alex does too. Or any comments on anything that we've talked about, you can do that there. And then finally, I just wanted to mention, if you want to support me and our channel or Alex, buy me a coffee. You can go down in the description. Also on Alex's channel, I know he's got it there too. And we appreciate the support because, without you all, supporting us, we can't really do what we're doing here now too. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that as well.
100%. Well, Mark, thank you so much for having me on. This has been great.
I appreciate you, Alex, because I've been wanting to do this, but I wanted to do it with you because I like the fact you live there, and I thought we could have a nice discussion about jolly old England.
Yeah, it's great. And I really enjoyed when Jeff came over from Canada recently. Took him around and did some of the sites and all this. I love talking about London, and I know a lot about it because obviously I live here, and it's just it's fascinating. And we could do several videos, I'm sure, delving into different topics and stuff. But it's that was a nice overview to give people a taste of what this great city has to offer.
Absolutely. Anyway, I just want to thank you, Alex, and thank all the viewers who stuck with us. And until the next time, bye-bye.